If you're a wedding photographer, you're probably great at all the creative sides of running a business. You love taking photos, you love editing, you love showing up for your clients in the best way possible. But there are sides of your business that you're likely ignoring or not putting a lot of time into because they're just areas that you're not super comfortable with. One of the areas that I see wedding photographers ignoring altogether is SEO, or search engine optimization. SEO is the process of updating your website to show up higher in search engines like Google, and this can benefit your business in a number of ways. Before you watch the rest of this video, pause for a second, go down to the comments, and let me know on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in your overall website SEO? 1 being not confident at all, 10 being you're doing great. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any more videos we put out in the future. The number one reason I want you to focus on SEO is because it helps potential clients find your business around the clock. That means every single week, you're gonna end up with an inbox full of new leads ready to work with you. Again, most photographers struggle with SEO because they're great at the creative side of their business, but they're not so great at the techie behind the scenes side. But don't worry, today I'm gonna give you some super simple tips to get you started. The first thing I want you to do is have a crystal clear statement at the top of your website that tells us who you are, what you do, and where you do it. This is not only important for Google to help decide where your website is going to fit in the search rankings, it's also wonderful for potential clients because they're going to be able to tell whether or not they're in the right place from the second they land on your website. No one wants to hire a photographer that's halfway around the world without knowing it because your website didn't tell them. That actually happens more often than you would think. I'm actually in the process right now of hiring vendors for my own wedding, and you'd be surprised how often I go to somebody's website and have no idea where they're located, and I'm scrolling down to the footer, I'm clicking their about page just to find out what city or town they're located in so that I make sure they're in close proximity with my venue. Now, if you do a lot of travel photography or destination weddings, you may want to include one home base location on your homepage, and then also say that you travel regionally, nationally, or worldwide, depending on what makes the most sense for you. My next tip is a good follow-up to this because some of you might be saying, I do a lot of different types of photography. How do I include all of that in one sentence at the top of my website? And this tip is to really narrow down your niche, and if you can, focus on one main type of photography. So yes, for general purposes, you might offer engagement photography and wedding photography, maybe some family sessions too, but from an SEO perspective, depending on how competitive it is in your region, you're gonna really want to focus on one type of photography so that Google recognizes you as the authority in that niche. That doesn't mean you can't offer more than one type of photography on a single website. It just means that you want to focus on one type of photography per page. So your homepage should be specific to one type of photography. You can mention the others on there as well, but from an SEO perspective, your keywords should all be centered around that one main focus. And then you might have an additional page for family photography, for example, or another page for portrait photography, or whatever it is for you. This next tip is a mistake that I see so many photographers making, and that is having a website that's really heavy on images and light on text. Google needs text to fully understand what your website is all about, so it's important to really mix in text with your images so that the two flow nicely together. You don't just want to rely on visuals to sell your photography services. You want to go into detail about who you are as a photographer, your process, what someone can expect when they first reach out to you. All of this is going to help turn those leads into paying clients and customers, and it also helps Google learn more about your business. You're noticing a theme here. Google is trying to serve their search engine users the best they can, and that means providing value. So the more value your website provides, the better. The next tip I have for you is to get your work featured online. This may sound really daunting, but it's just about getting links back to your website. So much of Google's rankings are based on building trust and authority. Think of every link from one site back to your site as a vote of confidence in the eyes of Google. Now, these votes carry slightly different weights. For example, a link from the New York Times back to your site carries a lot of weight, whereas a link from maybe a smaller blog that no one's ever heard of back to your site, or a spammy website back to your site, that's not going to be doing you any favors. I'm not saying that you should only go after giant publications, because that's going to take a ton of work. I would rather see you go after some relevant blogs or websites in your niche that already feature photographers. Maybe pitch them with a recent wedding you shot or a unique styled shoot that you did and see if they will feature you. A lot of these blogs already have submission pages out there that you can find and just fill out the form to submit your work. You may also be able to get featured as part of your local chamber of commerce or maybe through some local news channels. These are all wonderful options for not only increasing the publicity around your brand, but also showing Google that your site is reputable and trustworthy. The next tip I have for you is super important, and it's one that so many photographers skip altogether or do incorrectly, and that's blogging. As I mentioned earlier, Google loves content, and blogging is a great way to get more content out into the world on a regular basis. It's also the perfect opportunity to rank for longer tail keywords like venue locations or other local wedding resources. Before I tell you what you should be blogging about, I'm going to tell you what not to do, and a mistake that I see photographers making all the time, and that is writing the same style of post over and over again. Maybe the title of the post has the couple's name in it, and then a quick little paragraph kind of going over their love story or a little bit about their day, and then a massive gallery of images. And every blog post starts to look like that after a while. If this is the type of content you're creating, you're definitely not alone, but you're also not doing yourself any favors when it comes to ranking in Google. Instead of using your blog to only share past client work, think about who your ideal client really is. It's probably a bride getting ready for her wedding day. She probably has a lot of questions about hiring a photographer, about venues in the area, about planning for a wedding in general. These are all things that you can help with as someone who's probably gone to a lot of weddings. So write down all these frequently asked questions that your ideal client has and make those into blog posts. People tend to search for answers to questions. So the more your blog post can add value by helping your ideal clients, the more likely you are to show up in search engines. If you're still really struggling to come up with blog post ideas, I feel you. This is something that so many of my clients struggle with, and I've got a resource that can really help you. It's called 12 Months of Blogging, and it's 12 monthly blog prompts specifically designed for creative business owners like photographers to help you figure out what to write each and every month. Not only do we tell you what to write, we also give you an outline as well as a worksheet to help you plan out your post. We tell you what keywords you should be focusing on and how to put the whole thing together. You can grab all the details with the link around this video. Let me know in the comments your biggest takeaway from watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.